Dawn, for having me on. Um, I believe that this day will be etched in history as another dark day for Britain. Once again, we have witnessed appalling scenes on the streets of London where the protesters unabashedly called for genocide, along with the placard featuring the Ayatollah and Nazi salutes. These pro-Pal hooligans were making seven numbers with their fingers to mock the vicious slaughter of Jewish people committed by Hamas terrorists. They appallingly made demands for the deproscription of Hamas and Hezbollah. To be clear, this Western pro-Palestine movement does not care about innocent people. They do not care about the Palestinian, they do not care about the Iranian, and they do not care about the Jewish people. This time, those participating have brazenly come out as a genocidal fan club for the Ayatollahs, taking to the streets of London to express their indifference for the innocent Iranian people who are being ruthlessly slaughtered by the brutal Islamic regime. Now, this is not to say that every single person who participated in this march or the marches before this march is an anti-Semite or a genocidal sympathizer. However, we have witnessed how these pro-Palestine hooligans have infiltrated these marches, seized control, took over the narrative, and shouted genocidal slogans without facing any opposition. Now, we have been warning for years that these marches have become sanctuary for hatred, bigotry, and prejudice. However, we were gaslighted for calling a spade by those who claim to be the champions of human rights. These are the same sanctimonious people who seem all willing to downplay the state-sponsored slaughter of innocent Iranian people because condemning it does not fit their narrative. I think we have seen enough this continuous pattern of hateful behavior from these pro-Palestine hooligans, and it is time for us to stop being complacent.
Khadija, this is what I keep coming back to. Obviously, everybody is against the killing of innocent people, right? Nobody is supporting that. What's happened in Gaza is appalling. We absolutely stand by that. However, what's happened in Gaza is appalling and we're protesting against that. Completely understand that. When the same thing happens in Iran, but the West and Israel aren't involved, that doesn't appear to be a problem for people. What's the difference? People are dying.
Because I don't think that it was ever about Palestinian people who are suffering in Gaza. They were focusing on their own agenda to protect Hamas in Gaza. And that was the reason they were taking to the streets right after the horrific slaughter of Jewish people on October 7, before even Israel retaliated. So this has been very obvious, and it is disturbing how Iranian people, this time, Iranian people have been smeared as Zionists and are subjected to a staggering level of gaslighting by these pro-Palestinian hooligans, I would say. We claim to have a zero tolerance, this kind of bigotry and prejudice here in Britain. But then we have seen these people taking to the streets and overtly spewing their hatred and prejudice against people and they smear every single person who is not on their side. I mean, this is tragic that they call it to be on the right side of the history when the Iranian regime, the brutal Islamic regime in Iran, slaughtered their own people in order to silence dissent. They call it to be the right side of the history, to be on the right side of the history. I think if this is what is to be the right side, on the right side of the history, then I think every single person with a conscious mind would love to be on the wrong side of the history at this moment.
Yeah.